here for Trailblazer RV with a new RV orientation on this 2021 Venture RV Stratus 281 VBH. We're going to start right at the front of the trailer, work our way around the outside. We'll show you how everything works and where everything is. Then we'll go inside, start up some of the appliances, and take you through some of that stuff too. We'll start right here with the propane system. Dual 20-pound propane tanks. Both of these are full right now. And an automatic switchover propane regulator. So you can see the arrow on the bottle selector here pointing to this bottle, and a red sight glass showing that there is no propane flowing. But as we open that valve, that sight glass will turn from red to clear. There we go. That shows that there's propane flowing from the selected bottle. What we recommend is selecting one tank or the other rather than leaving the regulator in the middle, but opening both bottles. That way the regulator will deplete the selected bottle first, then automatically start to pull from the reserve bottle. When that happens, this sight glass will change from clear back to red to let you know that the first bottle is empty. At that point, you can switch the regulator over to the other bottle and remove the first bottle to refill or exchange it. Behind the propane tanks is your dual 6-volt RV battery setup. To access those batteries, remove the straps here and lift the cover off of the tanks. And for more information on the dual 6-volt battery setup, make sure to check out our video on upgrading your trailer from single 12-volt battery to dual 6-volt batteries. Behind the batteries, you've got your battery disconnect switch. So right now it's in the green connected stage. To disconnect those batteries, just turn it over to the disconnect setting, and that will kill all power from the batteries to the RV. It's worth noting though that this trailer has a solar charging system, and when that battery disconnect is disconnected, the solar panels will not be charging the batteries either. So as a general rule of thumb, you'll normally want to leave that disconnect on so that the solar panels are charging the batteries. Here in the front storage compartment, you've got your power cord. This is a 30 amp power cord, attaches onto the side of the trailer and plugs into 30 amp RV park power. We also include a park adapter to break the connection down from 30 amp to 15 amp so you can plug into a normal household power outlet. And a couple of fresh water features here. You've got your freshwater fill. You can use a garden hose or preferably one of those white drinking water specific hoses to fill your freshwater tank from here. And if you're staying at a site with water hookups, you can hook up directly to pressurized city water with this connection. When you're hooking into pressurized city water, we recommend using a water pressure regulator, just a little brass fitting about that big that goes on the end of your hose. And that will ensure that you don't over pressurize these water lines, which could result in a water leak. If you draw a line straight down from here, you'll find your water drain valve. So this valve is open right now. So all of the water has drained out of the tank because this trailer is still winterized. When you go to fill the water tank the first time this season, you'll need to close this valve so that the water can fill the tank. As we move around the trailer, you've got a wastewater holding tank drain right here. The valve for that is just up straight above it, this gray valve passing through the frame. The valve itself on this trailer is up inside the heated and enclosed holding tank area. So this drain connection is specifically for your galley holding tank, your kitchen sink water, basically. And then you've got a separate set of tank drains for your bathroom at the back. Here at your running gear, your tires are inflated to 80 psi You'll find that stamped somewhere on the sidewall of the tire, 80 psi cold, and we do recommend running those right at 80 psi. We've also torqued your lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds, and we recommend periodically retorquing lug nuts on a towable RV. If you don't have a torque wrench, just put a wheel wrench on there and torque them to make sure that they're nice and tight. We recommend repacking wheel bearings periodically with an RV. This one has Easy Lube axles, so if you pop this center cap off of here, you'll expose a grease zerk, and you can use a grease gun to grease your inner and outer wheel bearings. That doesn't eliminate the need to repack your wheel bearings, but it does prolong the intervals. So instead of repacking wheel bearings every year, as long as you give it 1 or 2 shots of fresh grease once in a while, you can probably get away with repacking your wheel bearings every 3 to 5 years, depending on how much you travel with the RV. Right here is where that 30 amp power cord attaches to the trailer. And right behind that, a couple more plumbing features. You've got your outside shower. When this opens up, you've got hot and cold water taps in here. Outside shower lifts up to about that high. And your sewer tank flush system. So when you're dumping your bathroom holding tanks, specifically your black tank, you can hook a hose up to here to spray out the inside of that black holding tank. So that'll spray off the monitor probes to keep your monitor panel reading properly and just clean off the walls of the tank. And you'll find that sewer dump right here. So when you hook up your sewer hose, which we include a new 20-foot sewer hose, by the way, it's stored in the rear bumper right now. Hook up your sewer hose here, other end goes into the ground, obviously, and then at this connection you've got 2 valves, a black valve and a gray valve. Always dump the black first. This is your sewer tank. So dump the black valve. Once that's finished draining, you can close this valve and open the gray valve, and that will use your gray water, your sink and shower water, to flush all of that sewage content through the hose, so that when you disconnect it, there's nothing left in that hose. You can stow the sewer hose back in the rear bumper and replace the cap. Here at the back of the trailer, there's a factory mounted hitch here. This is for primarily for hitch mount accessories, bike carriers, kayak carriers, cargo trays, that sort of thing. It does have a 250-pound capacity, so make sure you don't overload the capacity of the hitch. Right here is where you'll find your outside kitchen. So you've got the electric fridge, and this is a 110 volt electric fridge. You need to be plugged into power or running a generator for this fridge to operate. And then you've got a 2-burner gas stove top here. To light the burners, just turn the knobs over to light and light these manually with a barbecue lighter. You do have to hook up the propane connection for this though. And you'll find that right underneath here, a propane quick connect. You use this hose to hook up the quick connect here and other end to one of your 2 gas ports underneath the trailer. Then once that's hooked up, you've got the valve here, so you'll hook that up to the port. Then you have to open the valve to make sure that propane is flowing. There's another connection under here that's a hose connection, and this is for your sink drain. So you can hook a garden hose up to this and into a tote tank or a bucket or a ditch or wherever you want to drain the water from your outside sink. Right here we've got your fridge vent, so you can open this up to access the back of the fridge for cleaning or maintenance, but primarily this is just a vent. You won't need to get in here very often. The fridge just needs a little bit of air movement to work properly. Same with this is your furnace exhaust. This can get very hot when the furnace is running, so just make sure if you've got young kids around the RV that they know not to touch that. And this one is your hot water tank. So you can remove the panel here to access the hot water tank. This is a gas electric model, so you can run it on 110 volt electricity or propane. If you're running it on electricity, there's a little black rocker switch down in the corner that needs to be turned on. And there are two black reset buttons here. If you ever overheat the water tank, primarily if you accidentally start up the water tank without any water in it, you'll trip these ECOs. You'll have to come out here and press in on these to reset the tank before you can light it again. The other thing that you'll find here is your anode rod. So this has two functions. It works as the plug for the tank. So when you pull this out to drain all of the water for the winter, as it is now, but then it also has this rod on it. And the purpose of this rod is to corrode over time to help preserve the inside lining of the tank. The road corrodes rather than the inside of the tank. So this is a maintenance item. It needs to be replaced every few years. Once you see it get down to just that tiny little rod in the center, that's when it needs to be replaced, but it can get quite pitted and corroded looking before that, and it's nothing to worry about. It's just doing its job. Make sure before you pull this out that you use the pressure relief valve to bleed the water pressure off of the tank. The tank's sitting at about 40 psi when it's pressurized, so you'll want to make sure to relieve that pressure before you pull the plug. And here at your front storage compartment is where you'll find a couple of things. This is your Blue Ox equalizer hitch that was included in this deal. And when you arrive to pick up the new trailer, we'll show you how to hook this up. We'll get it all set up for you. A couple of jack crank handles here as well. The larger one is for your four-corner stabilizer jacks. When you crank those down, you want to crank them down to be snug with the ground, but don't actually lift the trailer with these. They're for stability rather than leveling. We'll talk a little bit more about leveling when we get inside to the LevelMate Pro control panel. The other jack handle here is for your power front jack. If you ever have a failure of this jack, you can open up this access panel on the top, and you can use this jack to manually crank your front jack. Hopefully that doesn't come up, because obviously the power jack is the simpler way to do that. At the entry door, this trailer is locked. We'll go get the keys and we'll pick this back up. We're back with the keys. So you've got two keys on this key ring. The purple Global Link key does both your door latch, deadbolt, and baggage doors. And the black key has only one function. That is for your outside shower on the back of the trailer. So for the door latch, just simple turn to the side to lock, to the top to open. For the deadbolt, turn to the side to unlock, and then back to the top to remove the key. And this is the More Ride step. So to release this, just pull the blue handle and pull the step down. It has height adjustments here for the legs. If you're parked on unlevel ground or in front of a curb in the city or something, you can adjust the legs. And the first thing that I'm going to show you while we're still partly outside is the awning. So just inside the door here, you've got your control panel and your awning retract extend switch. So if you just press and hold the extend button, that awning will come out. The awning extends 8 feet. You don't have to bring it out the full 8 feet. You can stop it at any point if there's a tree or another RV in the way. There you go. This is a height adjustable power awning as well. So there's a little tab here to adjust the height. The height can be adjusted with the awning out or in. I actually find it easier to adjust with the awning in because you don't have to reach up as high, but just push in on the tabs and adjust the arm there for the height. Most of the time, if you're adjusting the awning height, you'll want to tip one corner down to be lower than the other so that you can control where the water runs off. Going back inside. And it is a little bit windy today, so the first thing that we're going to do is just bring that awning back in. Anytime you're expecting the wind to pick up, the best thing to do is just to bring the awning in. They're fairly resilient and they can withstand a good amount of wind, but if you're not sitting under there, the best, safest thing is always just to bring the awning in. See that that's almost in. There we go. The other switch right below that is for your slide out. So just like the awning, press and hold the out button and the slide will extend. This is a flush floor slide. So you see it move out, and then as it reaches its full extension, it's just going to kind of sit down to be flush with the floor. And once you hear that ratcheting sound, then you know the slide is all the way out. With this style of slide, it's perfectly fine to bring it in halfway, bring it out halfway. If you just want to access your master bedroom or something in transit, you can just run the slide out as far as you need to get that door open and bring it back in. No problems with that. Some other things on this panel, you've got some light switches for your main interior lights. And your outside yard light. You've also got some switches here for your hot water heater. You can run the hot water heater on electricity if you're plugged into power. Remember, if you're running it on electricity, there's also that black rocker switch outside that will have to be turned on. And you can run your tank on propane. Now when you turn on the tank on propane, the red fault light shows up indicating that the tank is not lit. I'm not actually going to let it light up right now because there's no water in there, but the propane burner lights up automatically. And when you hear the DSI spark and that burner light up, that fault light will go out. If it doesn't go out, or if it goes out only briefly and comes back on, that's when you might want to check those two black reset buttons on the outside of the tank. You've also got here your monitor panel, so you can check the level of your fresh water. It's completely empty right now. Battery is completely charged. Your black holding tank is completely empty. Gray holding tank completely empty. And gray 2 holding tank, which is your galley tank, is completely empty. This monitor panel also shows a black 2, but this trailer has only one black holding tank. So this black 2 button is not actually in use. This is also where you'll toggle your water pump on and off when you're camped away from water hookups and you're using your freshwater tank. And you've got a awning light switch here, which is in the full length of the awning. You've got an LED light feature. As we move into the trailer, I like to start at the stove. You've got 3 burner propane stovetop here. All 3 of those burners work with the piezo sparker. And I always recommend when you refill or replace your propane bottles, the first thing you should do when you hook that new bottle up is come in here and just light all 3 of these burners. And the reason you do that is that's the most effective way to bleed any air that might be in those propane lines off the system. So once you can get a flame at all 3 of these burners, you know you've got no air left in your propane lines, and your automatic appliances like your fridge, furnace, and hot water tank will have no problem starting up. You've also got your oven here. So for the oven, turn the knob over to the little flame symbol, push in on the knob, and there's a pilot light that's going to light right underneath here. You can use the piezo sparker for that as well. So when we need to hold in on that oven knob while some propane comes through, there you go. And now you've got a pilot light for your oven. Once you see a flame there, continue to hold in on this knob for 10 or 15 seconds just for that thermocouple to heat up. And then you can release the knob and turn the oven up to temperature, and it lights the burner. Once you're finished using the oven, you can just turn it back down to pilot, and you can leave the pilot burning or turn it all the way off and just relight the oven as you need to. Your fridge is an automatic gas electric fridge. So to turn it on, just push the on button, and there's a little mode indicator here. And right now the fridge is set to automatic, so if you saw there, it checked for electricity first. When it didn't find electricity, it automatically switched over to propane. We recommend leaving it most of the time in the automatic position, but you can override the automatic to only run on electricity or only run on propane. And you might find with this style of fridge that it cools down a little faster on propane than it does on electricity. For now, I'm going to leave it in the automatic mode. There's also a temperature adjustment on this fridge, 1 being the warmest, 5 being the coldest. I usually set it to 3, but depending on the ambient conditions, you might find you need to adjust that. If we forget to give them to you when we see you, your second set of keys is right here in the top of the fridge door. Moving along with appliances, your thermostat is right here on the wall. This controls both the heating and cooling systems for the RV. For the cooling system, and we're not plugged into power right now, so we won't actually get the air conditioner fired up, but set the system to cool, set your desired temperature, and then you've got a switch here for fan speed. So you've got automatic at low and high fan speed as per the thermostat, or just always on low and high fan speed. For the heat settings though, there's only 1 fan speed. So in heat settings, this switch doesn't do anything. So just set your temperature. The furnace fan comes on immediately, and in a second or two, you're going to hear that direct spark ignition. I don't know if you could hear that, but now the burner is running, and in a few seconds, we would have warm air blowing through our floor vents. Once the RV comes up to temperature, or you shut off the furnace, the burner goes out immediately, but that fan is going to continue to run for 30 seconds to a minute just to go through its cycle before it shuts down completely. With your air conditioning, you have a quick dump feature, so you can open up these vents to have all of your air conditioning right here in the high traffic area, or you can close the vents to direct the air conditioning through the ductwork in the ceiling. Right here is your power converter. So this is the power center for the trailer. This is where you'll find all of your 110 volt breakers and 12 volt fuses. This also acts as your battery charger. So if you're plugged into power and your batteries are very low, you might hear this making a little bit of a humming or a buzzing sound. That's perfectly normal. What you're hearing is the battery charger. Here inside the bathroom, There's a couple of things worth mentioning in here. The power outlet here is notable. This is a GFI outlet with the test and reset buttons on it, like what you have in the bathroom of your home. The difference in an RV is this is wired in series with several of your other power outlets. So if you trip this GFI, you'll lose power at all of your outlets. If you ever plugged into power and you don't have any power from your power outlets, come into the bathroom, press the reset button. That'll reset the whole circuit. This is also where you'll find your LevelMate Pro panel. So with LevelMate Pro, you can use your smartphone to help you level the RV. You'll download the Venture RV app from the App Store or the Google Play Store, and then make sure to check out our video on how to set up your LevelMate Pro, because you'll need to configure this the first time you use it. After you've configured it, you just need to open the app and you can see how level your trailer is. Anytime you're using the sewer system for your RV, you'll want to make sure and use a good potent RV toilet chemical. The chemical is available in powder, liquid, or tablet form. Doesn't matter which one you use, but make sure when you add chemical to the tank that you put some water down with it. So pour the chemical right into the toilet bowl. Use the foot flush on the toilet to push halfway down. That'll fill the bowl with water. Once the bowl's full of water, push the rest of the way down to dump the whole works into the tank. You want to put new holding tank chemical into the tank immediately after every time you dump your holding tank. So when you finish dumping your holding tanks, come inside, put some new holding tank chemical in, and you should be good until the next time you have to dump your tanks. Got a couple of safety features here. The smoke detector you'll find on the roof. It has its own 9-volt battery, so you just want to make sure and check that periodically by pressing the test button to ensure that that battery hasn't gone dead. And you've got another detector down here. This is your propane and carbon monoxide detector. This one is wired into the RV's electrical system, so it doesn't have its own battery, and it will do 3 things. It'll alert you to a potential propane leak. However, if you had a propane leak in the RV, you would almost certainly smell it before the alarm goes off. It can also alert you to a high carbon monoxide situation, or the third thing that this could do is alert you to a low voltage situation on your RV battery. If your RV batteries are getting very low, this will chirp just like a smoke detector does when its battery is nearing the end of its life. Speaking of batteries, you've got your solar charge controller here. So this basically shows you the current battery voltage, 13.7 volts. So that's basically fully charged. But if you have if your battery is currently charging, it'll also show you the amperage that your battery is charging at. You can also download the app. I believe it's the GoPower app to connect this via Bluetooth with your smartphone, so you can monitor your battery level on your smartphone. Here in the bedroom, not very much to talk about. You do have an emergency exit window here. In the event of an emergency, this hinges all the way up, so you can push that out to prop it open just for some air movement, or push it all the way up to use in the event of an emergency. To remove the screen, just pull the black tab to pull the screen out. This is a little bit of a finicky mechanism, so I do recommend just practicing that a few times, just so that you're familiar with it if you have to use it in an emergency situation. And you have a second TV backer location here on the wall. If you are going to install a bedroom TV, there's a sticker here marking the location, but what we've found is that this isn't always in exactly the right place. The backing for this TV will be wood. You can find it with a stud finder. Just make sure if you're going to install a bedroom TV that you hit that backing. And I think for the most part that covers it. Hopefully you've learned something about the 2021 Stratus 281 VBH by Venture RV. If you have any questions, you can always check our website, trailblazerrv.com, or get a hold of us here at Trailblazer. Thanks for watching.